Good morning. I am finalizing some concepts for some things. One of them being my Genius Journal, some of the art pieces, and some new art pieces that are coming up. Um, and I've had a lot of videos where I'm saying a lot of hard things and less teaching lately. I don't know when this is going to get uploaded in comparison to everything else, so might be an unnecessary disclaimer. But as I'm preparing my Genius Journal and getting it ready to go lay out to print alongside the book of poetry and some other things, I'm looking at some of my art that I've been doing, and it's evolving and it's making, I'm comprehending the depth of it in a different way. And I'm also looking at the days that are really, really hard. And I'm going in deep. And so it's amazing to me because the days that feel really hard for me are the most effective days. They're the days I say the things I don't want to say. I feel the uncomfortable emotions I don't want to feel. I try things that are new and put me out of my comfort zone. And in terms of ownership and accountability, I want to be able to come on here and be honest that, like, this is a hard process. Literally, you're changing your entire brain. And so it's easy on the outside looking in to see somebody having an emotional reaction and say, oh my God, there's something wrong. But I haven't felt most of my life. I have been numbed or just zombied out. Um, or I just, I wasn't effective. I understand why I shut this down. And I want to come here and say that honestly, because my music and my work and my art, it really forces people to feel, but I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say that that's an extremely uncomfortable thing for me. I do my work, I do my art, I do my healing, I do my teaching, I say the things that everybody doesn't want me to say because I've been not saying them for 30 years. I've known for a long time what's been going on. And every time I get zapped out, I go along willingly and then I get what I want and then I just keep going. And I would be inauthentic to say that I'm not here because I maxed that numbing out to the point where I was so dissatisfied with my life. I was willing to abandon the things that in that environment I couldn't speak. I wouldn't speak, thinking that it was me and not the situation or the circumstances. And knowing that others were experiencing something similar, but not comprehending the magnitude of it. And so I'm here today to really have some grace with myself. And I hope that that creates grace with you because I am saying some very challenging things. But by no stretch of the imagination is the intention of these to belittle and generate shame in a way that is to be remaining. Emotions are data. Sure, I have a lot of crying to do because it feels really loud. It feels really loud because I never trained myself to cry without it overwhelming my nervous system. And that is learned early. But when everybody in the family is dealing with this type of trauma that is epigenetic, like this is coming, like nobody just implanted me with microchips when I was born. Like this is coming in our genes, right? This is intergenerational trauma, epigenetic trauma. These things are in us. Certain things turn it on, other things turn it off. And I used to think it was a lot more complex than it is to turn it on and off, um, if I'm honest. When we understand what's happening, it's not that complex. To me, anyways, it feels like a recipe, if you will. Um, how do you make pound cake versus marbled pound cake, versus chocolate chip pound cake versus lemon pound cake? And so to me, this is like the epigenetic recipe. And I just wanted to make sure that I captured this. I am doing a lot of deep, deep work because I am still uncomfortable with saying those things. And I do go into terror and into fear because, then I get threats. Like, I've now published on LinkedIn that OPP trespassed when I called and told 911 that I wouldn't call them. So they're not showing up to threaten me now. But after I posted that yesterday, I got a text message from some outreach crisis center. And that's code for, hey, watch it. And I can take that as a threat, and that would be my old wiring. Or I can see what's actually happening in reality today, that the world is not what I thought it was. Women are not equal. And a lot of the men that I have disrespected has been because they have crossed a line with me and disrespected me, but not from a space of how it feels and how it is received, which is, you don't have a voice, you don't have a brain, you don't have capacity. You need to be taken care of. And it sounds harsh, but when I think of the harsh reality that we live in, that women are not equal, and that these epigenetic markers within us, unfortunately, do make us vulnerable in a world where men hold the power in the epigenetic pool. And men of privilege hold the power in the epigenetic pool. This is nobody's fault. Everybody living and breathing today. What's happening today was happening in 1850. And we carry that gene pool. And this is my accountability so that I'm not a hypocrite and that I can be here authentically. I'm studying all the things that I have shunned: astrology, shamanism, understanding the complexities of our world, not just from what we want consciously, but what we're doing unconsciously. And this is Deborah Silverman's The Missing Element book. Thank goodness for, I don't believe in astrology, because if I hadn't seen that interview, I would still be being assaulted in my own house. And I would still feel like I was going to fix it. And the truth is, it was never going to change because this is systemic and it's in the epigenetics. And until we start to say, guys, this doesn't work, this isn't uncomfortable, this is uncomfortable, and this isn't how I experience reality anymore, I could go back to that world. But I'm lying. I'm lying to you. I'm lying to me. And there's a quote in Deborah's book that's anonymous, and it says, there are two types of people in the world: those who are humble and those who are about to be. And that is some wisdom I needed for my spirit and soul, because I don't need to be humble about my skills. I don't need to be humble about my experience. And I don't need to be humble about my value and my worth. But if I don't humble myself to the reality and the experience of others, then I'm just shooting myself in the foot. Because I am not the only person in existence here. And I am very self sufficient and very independent and quite resilient. But I cannot think and imagine that one person can carry on change. It's impossible. And it is not my responsibility. We all live here. We all breathe here. There was an agreement way back when. For example, in the Indian culture, there was an understanding of this wisdom of the biology. Maybe we had the science. Maybe we understood the science differently back then, or we explained it differently. But now we're coming back to the same understanding that we can't just say, let's treat each other equal, say some nice things, put some nice things into place, and then not actually address the lumps that come out of our bodies. When these things are activated and our bodies are like hard, no, I'm not going to be your puppet right now. I am going to think for myself. I am resisting this. And it's not conscious. It's not here. It's back here. This is what makes you breathe when you're falling asleep. When you pass out, what keeps your body functioning. That's what we need to address alongside ethics, understanding the science of epigenetics, religion and spirituality. But we need to pull ourselves at a higher bird's eye view and really just recognize that there's a bigger picture to look at here. And when we do that, we can hear what people, the patterns and the consistencies, even though they're not the same words, even though they're not the same beliefs, the same concepts, there is a pattern that is ringing true. And it rings through in artistic themes. It rings through in the variations on religions across cultures and continents. It varies across so many things. That's a somatic release right there. It's like, she gets it. We don't have to fight about it, but we do need to feel the anger. Anger is a very productive emotion when it's harnessed well. When I think about why I have chosen anger over compassion many times towards myself, it's because it gets shit done. It's effective. So I don't blame how things were done, but I see it even in my parents. Like, my parents are actively participating without them consciously knowing or not in shutting me down as a person, as an individual, and in taking medication that literally inflames my brain and will make me blind, or allow these radio frequencies to stop my heart in my sleep and stop me from breathing in my sleep. And they're already being effective at it. I've developed sleep apnea. And it happens like this right now that I'm talking about this, and it feels really scary to speak my truth and honor and own that I have been imposed, a lot of shame has been imposed on me around having this wisdom that we need to do things differently, and that I've been speaking it as a child to my parents at my workplace, and that it threatens to make me pass out to speak these truths and to own it. So I don't take it lightly. And I'm here today to say that from this perspective, because there's more to it than just what we're doing wrong or what is not okay or the harm that's being done with our actions. There's also the harm we're experiencing that leads people to act upon these emotions in these ways or to create a culture of, yeah, Steve, that was a somatic release. That was just like, dredge it up, dredge it up, dredge it up. And that's what it feels like. It really does feel like you're going to pass out. Like I feel lightheaded. And that's because the oxygen wasn't coming through. Like my face color is changing. But that's clearing. And it is a physiological action. It is not just a thought and words. There is a whole consequence to the words we listen to, the music, the tone. And part of why I was upset and just beside myself in like, how is this logical yesterday? Is this idea of I'm a stranger. This is a service, a business service that's being provided to me by the city. The entire city of St. Thomas employees, I don't know what they've been told. They're all scared of magic, except for they're all doing black magic and they don't know. And, or being puppeteered by black magic and they don't know. And how do I know this? Because I've been puppeteered by black magic. This is what these epigenetic things, they're actually curses that our ancestors bought into. This is why me saying no to that diagnosis of bipolar is critical, because the moment that I believe that that's true, my body starts to misfunction instead of alert me. It starts to strain and stress because it's like she thinks I'm broken, but I'm just talking. And then all hell breaks loose. And then you give me this medication that makes it louder and uncontrollable. No. And then you have to give me more stuff to numb me out. No. That's that reality of how these drugs work to modify behavior is true, but it doesn't modify how the person's brain and biology experiences that. And so we need to cry. We need to get angry. And we need to say the things that are uncomfortable without being threatened because somebody else's checklist is going off. My house is still standing. I still have an $800 commission of art that I sold this week. I still paid my bills, jerry rigging credit because my credibility has been interfered with. And I'm not going to sit around here and tell you I'm making all of these great money. I refuse to cheapen my work because the moment I do, it doesn't work. It's just a trinket. It's just another checklist. I'd rather bare my soul and look like a hot mess than sell spiritual cocaine so that we can all just keep being puppets and hurting the people we love and destroying the things we work so hard to build. And I'm not talking about me, because I destroyed my life by playing by the rules in the game. And then when it was time to drug myself up to keep playing for the approval of God, for the approval of my lover's family, my son's family, I couldn't. My body was making me die before it would let me continue. So when I say Mother Earth won't let us, when I say your body won't let you, I have tried without knowing what's happening. And I have tried aware of what was happening without knowing the full scope of it, but aware of what was happening, a level of it. And it is uncomfortable and painful to own that I failed at both. Because I'm a human being. I am love. I am a nurturer before I am a business person. I am a mother before I am a lover. And I'm a sister before I'm a wife. And all anybody wants to make me is a piece of meat. And I'm brilliant. But when I'm allowed to do things my way, with my heart and my essence and my way of understanding faith and beauty and religion and love and humanity, I do a really damn good job. Even if nobody wants to pay me for it. Even if they want to keep me here giving it for free like they convinced Mother Teresa. But I won't. Because I matter too. And maybe that's the lesson I'm here to teach. That when I'm gone, when everybody sees my work, when they finally succeed at wearing my body down, and no matter what I do, I can't keep it alive anymore. When they succeed, and generations later, everybody catches up. It will be okay. Because that's what I'm here to learn. You stand your ground and you do the right thing anyways. No matter how much hate they want you to hurl at them. no matter how much shame they want you to feel for cornering you into this over and over and over again. And I'm so grateful that the only debt that I'm going to walk away from in all of this is credit card debt and whatever I can't pay back immediately after this house is sold. But I'm committing to myself in public because I've recovered from this before, this enslavement and this loss of self where you allow yourself to dig a hole you never would have dug before. Left to your own devices and honoring your own wisdom and experience. I'm grateful that I did not betray my friends until I knew they betrayed me. And even then, the truth had to be spoken. But I don't hate any of them. I cannot trust them. And I don't value returning to the energetic signature that I used to experience in their presence. And I don't believe any of them has comprehended my perspective. So I'm not going to put myself to make them uncomfortable or make myself uncomfortable. But their actions were not okay. I'm a very giving person and I gave a lot. And they gave from everything that they could. And then, even when I was telling them what I needed and it was my turn, they still chose themselves first, to my detriment, in my most vulnerable circumstance ever, even though I had always given from nothing to them, me directly. I was the one paying for any injustice that anybody else had hurled on them. I was the one they took advantage of to claim back that balance karmically, and I will do that. This hurts to say, but it's true, and I own it. I've been walking around the city and some of the towns in the county looking for good places to sleep. I'm preparing myself to be homeless. I'm learning about the weeds. I'm learning about the weeds that I can eat. And yesterday, I walked to Deer Ridge Conservation Area nearby. And and I just sat there and I cried in the rain with my umbrella. But as I walked there, I had my Herschel umbrella that has flowers on it. There was a little girl with her parents playing, and she ran into her garage and pulled out her umbrella with the flowers on it. I was like, It really matters who I show up to be. Even if I say nothing to no one, maybe my job is just to live off the land and walk the streets in my brightly colored clothes and smile at people. Show them it's gonna be okay. So I thought maybe I'll leave this county. Maybe I'll go somewhere else. But I can't keep running away. This is who I am. This is my descendancy. And if I don't want to play the game in this system, then I'm gonna bow out. Not out of life, but out of the way I know how to live it. And it hurts. And it's uncomfortable. And I'm gonna be a beggar. I'm gonna sell my art on the street. And I'm gonna sing. And I'm gonna have a bucket of flour and money. And I'm gonna teach anybody who wants to learn from me on the street. Jesus did it. Even if the fairy tales are what it is. Fairy tale, he got to go to heaven. If it's only in his head, if it's only in his heart. I feel better when I respect myself. When I'm more than a piece of meat, I'll respect myself more as the beggar on the street than as just some man's woman. Not because the man is not worthy or not enough, but because I am a goddess. I carry life, and men are gods. They carry the seed of life, and I refuse to believe that we need to enslave each other to have abundance. I bow out of that game. I say no to colonialism. I say no to the patriarchy. And if I ever own land, it will be to create villages, even if they're tiny ones, the size of this plot of land I'm living on now. And even if that's all I ever do is roam around to create villages, create community, that's my job. So please stop trying to drug me up. Stop trying to stick me in jail. I don't need to become the government's liability. I won't stop telling the truth. But I don't need to play in your world. I can live in La La Land on Earth too. You don't have to come along, but please don't stop me. Leave me alone. I'm not hurting anybody. And it's not my responsibility to keep up your lie, especially not when it's hurting you. I will not participate in hurting you. Those of you hurting me, I will not participate. And I will pay you back. Because my family has never done anything without working their asses off for it. And I believe in this lifetime, we've earned it. But I'm not going to ask you guys to give me it. It's not coming from you. It's not coming from earth. I don't expect respect from you. If you can't, when I'm playing in your game, I don't expect it when I want out. So even if you don't believe me, I love you. I respect you. But I cannot respect living my life the way you want me to. So I will keep studying everything I can get my hands on, learning about history, sharing it, learning what I know and how I see things. And I hope you will take it or leave it, because I'm just another person experiencing this world. And I hope more of you will actually start experiencing the world so that I can learn from you. And hopefully, we don't have to go to extremes where we have to exit ourselves from the financial system just to feel like we are free human beings with the right to think and breathe in whatever way we feel. And I think this is the next video I post. And then the rest of the content's just gonna roll out. And you guys are gonna have to figure it out for yourselves. I'm not gonna curate. I'm not gonna polish. I'm not gonna market. These are my creations. This is my experience. Would you receive it better if I packaged it? Yeah. But you'll receive it if you need it or not. I don't need to tie it up for you. This is the workshop board. Simply be. And on the back, this workshop is about where am I making myself habituated, helpless. How do I say that properly? Habituatedly helpless. And this is what is beautiful. And this is born of like, I really value that I've been protected, but I would have valued a lot more to be told, honey, this is what the world looks like. I know we say these things, and in business, we're giving women opportunities, but there's a limit to what we can do because there are bad people, and they will use your biology to steal our company's data. And worse, if they're not doing it to interfere with the company, they just do it to take advantage of you. Because they know they can take you to a place where they can numb you and do whatever they want to you, sell your naked pictures online, making you do whatever you want without you knowing. Then when you walk down the street, you wonder why people look at you like they've seen you naked. The assistance is enriching, and the independence is liberating. If nothing is going to change, we need to prepare our young men and women for the reality of the world. We need not be having certain kinds of conversations. This is why I am so resilient. My parents did not sugarcoat things for me. They could have done it a little bit differently with a lot more compassion and love, but that was not a skill set that was in their toolbox. And it was not one that was valued in their cohort of parenting. And so here we are, the consequences of that. They made a very productive member of society that followed all the rules. But my body keeps trying to cave in on myself. And this is what's happening with disease, mental illness. We can continue to have structures that we have today, but we can't keep having the same wool over the eye conversations that hide the truth of things. And we need to own how ugly those truths are at the core of them, because we didn't make them. We're just living the consequences of them. And they feel really true and real right now. So please do not worry about the way that I'm going to do things henceforth, because they don't look the same, because it's not working for me. It never has. And I refuse to keep trying to make everybody else comfortable. And I won't become like most people in my position do it. They just say, forget it, I'm just going to become homeless and go into the drugs. Who cares? This is just a joke anyways. Nobody's really living a real life. I don't fault those people. They're having a good time. And I get it. A good time, not a long time. There's a reason for that. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. And right now, the ones that do are winning. So at this point, I'm not villainizing them. They're just doing exactly what we curated for them to do. I was just feeding into precisely what was curated. And now, could I have stayed in the cult of the Jehovah's Witnesses? I could have. It would have protected me from certain people, but not from others who have the exact same behaviors. Why? Because the symptoms are the same when the disease root cause is the same. That is a loss of our divine autonomy, the one we refuse to take responsibility for, or our parents or OG parents, the one Abraham took responsibility for, because this is not anybody else's structure except for the God of the Bibles, right? That's why I keep quoting the Bible, because the mythological gods, they had their own rules, they had their own stuff. The Western worlds and the wars that we have today are a symptom of all of these ancient peoples trying to control and homogenize instead of honoring and respecting and living and let live. Simply be and let be. So this has turned into, from a rebrand to a life change to spiritual awakening to, holy crap, this world is nothing like we thought. And I have so much wisdom and so much knowledge. And I know not even 1%. There's so much to know, so much to experience. And it's really overwhelming to think about it at first. But we deserve a break, guys. We've been doing this for 7 generations at least. And that's not with the 7 generations before that of consequences of all of this biological baggage. That's what it is. It's biological baggage. Somatic work is therapy for the biological baggage. And we make it awful. The church even tried to sanction it by calling them exorcisms. It's just moving, giving permission and safety for the energy to move. However, it's stuck. And yes, sometimes, often it is external energy that is possessing you, but it's not always like demons from out their world. It's like the demons in your own house, the people who insist on being hateful because it's the only way to retain their power. And my respect to them. I get it. It's effective of not becoming the slave. If I would have stayed an arrogant bitch, I would have never become a trafficked human. But I went back to the church and I became fodder for every man ever existed. So this is complex. It is not this is right, this is wrong. She did, he did. Yes, there are real consequences, like the people who chose to dismiss my voice so that I had to get louder and louder and louder. And now we're here. And now we're naming these people. And now we're calling out the consequence of their actions at a global scale. Because what I am speaking now of my truth doesn't just have implications for my family and for Elgin County OPP here. It has implications for RCMP across at BC. It has implications for the Canadian Army now. Because all of these people got involved because somebody at a daycare didn't say, hold on, this vulnerable woman who started out very capable and has gradually become deteriorated. And this man is gradually taking over. And now this child, his mother's presenting concerns. No. Why is the answer to blame the mother? Because that's the systemic protocol. Why is it that police have to come and control a person who's having a crisis? Why isn't it the police's responsibility to be trained to de-escalate that? Because I went to school for social service work. And my job was just to run community programs. My job was not to police people who were activated. But even I got trained in crisis prevention intervention. I know not to stand in front of somebody and stare them in the eye. I know not to corner somebody whose nervous system is heightened. I know how to take control of a person greater than me because I practiced this without bruising them. That's training I got as a social service worker. Why don't our police have that training? They are responding to people with crisis. And I'm not a violent person. The worst I do is get loud. And I'm not getting loud. I'm getting loud because my nervous system is dysregulated and I cannot control the volume. It's like a little kid. Because that's where my nervous system goes. It goes to the wiring where I was in crisis as a child. And these people, as I tell them, I need to sit down on the ground to calm my nervous system, are walking towards me to escalate the situation. So I'm asking for what I need in a very common wise situation. And these people are aggressing me. And I'm not even being aggressive. I called for help. That was my experience. Can you imagine somebody who doesn't have the training, doesn't know what's happening to themselves, does not have the language, and their nervous system, their autopilot has hijacked absolutely everything they know? And this is what we're doing with all of these sound waves in every single office setting. And then we have no compassion for people when they ask for space. I have witnessed this downfall for so many people that got fired at so many different workplaces. And I have seen who has been target and who has been a natural byproduct. And I have seen somebody very capable be targeted by a manager and then watch them crumble because they too can read energy unconsciously. So I'm not speaking just from my experience. I'm speaking as a trained professional since college and building on that throughout my career. Coming to the realization, I have all this training and I don't even acknowledge that I am an abused woman because it looks so normal in our system. And unless somebody's hitting us, we don't see that as violence. Unless it's me. If I'm getting loud, oh my gosh, even if it's just my own expression, that seems to be violence if it's me. Why? Because in your DNA, any servant who dared to speak their truth was an act of violence. And worse, if you were a slave, you didn't even dare show that you were having a hard time. You had no rights. And while we don't use those words anymore, these attitudes continue to drive our actions. And I have been at lunch tables with strangers who have gaslit me when I use their own words to reflect something back at them. But they have nowhere to go because they did it in front of others. So then they have to somehow hear my side of things. And it eats them up inside, and I can watch their skin crawl and they get so uncomfortable. But that violence didn't come from me. That violence came from their bodies. Just like when I react and am triggered in a situation, it's the violence that lives in me that was hurled against me, not that person. And then, however, when that person perpetuates the same attitudes as the violence perpetuated against me in the past, it is the same violence, even if the volume is turned down, whether the person believes that to be true or not. Because it's like if somebody was tortured using the color orange, and I insist on showing up in the color orange, knowing that they're tortured in that, and that they're fresh out of the hospital or the situation. That's unkind. It's not my fault. It's not my responsibility. That person has to build up their tolerance to the color orange. But there has to be a give and take. Once I know that, I'm not going to shut down my life for that person. And they have to understand that that's not an attack. But if I happen to be wearing orange and that person freaks out, maybe we work on that together because I'm not going to stop expressing myself. But also, I'm not going to actively aggravate the person, right? Now they got to go and work on that activation of around the color orange. And when we come back to the same room, I'm not going to walk on eggshells, but I'm also not going to make that the first thing I pick when I know I have a meeting with that person. Because I'm not going to torture them to be an asshole just because I have a right to wear orange. This is the skill that we've lost. Community, care. And the only reason I know it, because I'm paid to study it. Otherwise, I'd be in the program. I'm so good because I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I'm a daughter of God. And even with my spiritual pursuits, I have to be careful because that's habituated through the generations. Guzman, it used to be Goodman, Santa Maria, Holy Maria. We're as self-righteous as they come. This is Soul University. And we are both and all right and wrong at the same time. Because it just depends on what tree branch you're looking at the landscape from, but we're all on the same tree. And I feel much better about coming out to express challenging sentiments because I have owned that I don't do them well. And so every time that I come on to express challenging sentiments, I will try to do them better. And hopefully, if I do it well enough, I won't have to be homeless and I will be building villages instead of finding places to sleep. And everything that I'm doing is to establish a home that my son can be proud of. Even if I don't get to raise him. Even if nobody wants to honor my truth. I will love him from here. And every ripple I create will help him find his path home. Because who am I to say he's to be raised by me? A lot of women in my circumstance have been allowed to keep their children. I don't get my family till I do my job. So I have a lot of work to do.